Welcome to the Athletes in Motion podcast, from race to recovery, with your hosts, Tom Riegel and Kenny Bailey.
Hey, Kenny.
Hey, Tom. How are you?
I'm fantastic. How are you today?
I'm doing well. How are you? Who do we have on today?
We have a wonderful guest, Ryen Reed, who's our 2021 national champion for road, TT, and criterium, to join us today. Welcome, Ryen. Welcome to the show.
Hello. Thank you.
Great to have you on. Let's get started. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Paracycling. You're also a triathlete. You're also just a general badass in general. And, you know, I got to meet you back in 2019 at the Malibu Triathlon, and it opened up my eyes to what para athletes go through, just in the race itself, the logistics, all of that stuff. We can get into a little bit of that because there's lots I want to talk to on that. And then we talk about some of your equipment too, but give us your background. What's your story? Tell us about yourself.
So, I was born with cerebral palsy and hip dysplasia, which affects my legs. But I never wanted to be treated any differently growing up. So I grew up in able-bodied sports. I grew up playing softball and playing around in the neighborhood with the kids, basketball, rode my BMX bike. I never wanted to be treated any differently and just live life acting like nothing was wrong. And then in 2015, I volunteered at the Special Olympics in Los Angeles with my friend. And that's when I was introduced to the Paralympics. And my entire life, I wanted to participate in the Olympics, but I was never able to because of my disability. So when I found out about the Paralympics and that I qualified, and it was sort of a parallel level to the Olympics, I jumped on it and I got so excited. I went home and started researching the closest team, and sorry.
Biggest fan right there.
So I researched the Paralympics and the closest team to my area and started training in 2015. At that time, the only coach they had on their team was a triathlon coach. So I always wanted to try triathlon, but I never thought it was possible because I couldn't run. And then I found out about parasports and the adaptations that we were able to use and do to make it happen, and started triathlon right out the gate, kind of, and started training and competing in triathlon. And then in 2016, I got invited to a paracycling camp in Chula Vista and went to the camp. And by the end of that year, they invited me to live and train at the Olympic Training Center in Colorado Springs. So I moved out there in 2017, dream come true. And then I got hit by an SUV during training.
Oh, geez.
And kind of sidelined everything and pushed me back a bit, took me out of training and competing for a while. Then I moved back to Southern California in mid 2018. I wanted to keep going. I didn't want to give up. So I started back in triathlon, started doing local races and stuff. And then I started with a new coach, and that coach realized how quickly I was progressing in hand cycling. So he wanted me to completely focus on hand cycling. So in 2019, I got classified and started racing, went to national championships, became national champion in the road race and the time trial. And then I went to my first World Cup in Canada, right after nationals, and sort of progressed from there. And now I'm fully focused in hand cycling, and it's been incredible. I absolutely love it.
Nice. That's incredible.
Yeah. So Ryen, tell us a little bit about, so I'm going to be the ignorant guy on this show. And I fit that really well. So, mechanically, how does the triathlon work? I mean, I know how the triathlon works because I do them, but like, so when you, from the swim session, are you using the same hand cycle for cycling than you are for running, or is it a different piece of equipment? How does that work for you?
Yeah, so it's different. So the hand cycle is for the bike portion, and then we have a racing chair for the run. So
That's right.
two totally completely different machines, because the race chair has no gears and you're pushing with your knuckles. So your hands are in gloves and you're pushing the rim with your knuckles. You're not grabbing the rim or anything.
Okay. And so hand cycling, you're laying, for those that don't know, right, you're laying on your back. You're physically moving as if you were moving, well, a crank, but you're doing it with your arms.
Yeah. And the race chair, you're sort of tucked forward, pushing down.
What made you decide, I mean, between the two, what made you decide to do the hand cycling more over than sort of say a push chair? What was the decidifier? You were really good at hand cycling, so you figured what the heck? Or
yeah, I actually love the hand cycle, and race chair is very painful for my disability.
I see.
Because so I had double knee surgery back in 5th grade, and it sort of I can't bend my knees all the way, so I can't sit on my knees for a long period of time. So actually, I've done a full and a half marathon in my race chair, and by the end of that race, I was stuck and could not get out of my chair. They had to take me to the medical tent, and they didn't know what.
Oh my God.
IVs and everything. And I was just locked in position because of my disability. So it's very painful, but it's worth it when it all comes down to it. So I do push through it, but I'd much rather be in the hand cycle.
Yeah, sure. For you. So for everyone listening, it's the hand cycle is where you're laying on your back on the ground, and the other chair, you're on your knees. You're literally squashing your knees flat on top of that way. I can't imagine that being comfortable in any way, shape, or form.
Hand cycle any easier. Like that is difficult as well.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Oh my God.
So on the hand cycle, just I want to kind of understand the mechanics of that a little bit better. Is there gearing similar to a bicycle on that as well? I mean, you're shifting gears. It is a single speed. Is it?
Yeah. So it's sort of like like the derailleur and everything is flipped upside.
Got it.
Chain is longer, depending on your gears and what chain ring and all that you have set up. But yeah, it's similar to a bike. It's just flipped.
When you're so God, I'm just thinking my shoulders would just be trashed after a mile. I'm assuming that's that. What is that sort of, as you're training, obviously any kind of training is going to be difficult. Any kind of training you're going to have to build up. Is it mainly shoulder rotation and shoulder mobility that you have to work on? Is it back? It's actually,
it hits everything. Your back, your shoulders. It's mainly shoulders and triceps. It hits a lot, but chest definitely.
Okay.
You have to see her Instagram and page where she shows her doing pull-ups and stuff like that. It's pretty incredible.
A lot goes into it. Like tomorrow I have a 4-hour ride on the trainer, and then Friday I have a 5-hour ride. So
nice.
The training intense and it's very long, and
it's hard. So talk about the chair itself. Now this chair is custom built, basically. You can't just go to a local bike shop and get one of these things. They don't have that many of them. So we had these conversations about how you fit in the cycle, how you get that to do, and they're ridiculously expensive.
Oh yeah. So all adaptive equipment is specifically fit. So you can't just go into a bike shop and say, oh, I want that bike, and walk out the door with an adaptive equipment right that day. It takes about, I think hand cycles are backed up to 6 months at least right now. So actually in 2019, before the end of my season, I think it was when I was coming back from the World Cup in Canada, United Airlines totaled my hand cycle.
Oh,
so I had no hand cycle to use at the end of my season. It was a mess. It took forever. They offered me a $25 travel voucher because they messed up my bike. And I had to fight through the system to get my bike fixed. And they ended up getting me a new hand cycle, but it's a mess trying to get a new one right away. So, and they're very expensive. My bike is around $15,000 to $18,000.
All right.
Yeah, it was even more than I thought.
If you can let my wife know that, I'd really appreciate it, because what I spent on my tri bike, wasn't quite there.
Yeah.
Just let her know, just saying. It's no Paralympic hand bike. Okay. Just so we're clear. So
I could definitely tell her that.
Appreciate that. Get me out of the doghouse, please.
Yeah. And then the other thing that I kind of, like I said, it was eye-opening for me to help you at Malibu, because Malibu is a beautiful race. The triathlon is beautiful. It's right there on the beach. Everything is on the beach. It's all sand all the time, which doesn't work really well for any kind of wheelchairs, hand cycling systems, or anything. And you just handled it like it was nothing. Like it was no big deal. Like the fact that we couldn't get you in the center to get your award for winning.
Yeah.
I mean, I was so pissed off, frankly. And you're just like, okay, whatever. Yeah. It's just, handing her medal in the parking lot, and she took it like a champ. It was pretty incredible. But I mean, it was just, do you find that on all the races, or are they a little bit more? I mean, when you go to a race that obviously is adaptive and for challenge athletes, they're going to be a little bit more thoughtful about this.
Yeah. Usually with local races, we have that a lot, especially with the courses and stuff. With Malibu, with the run course, they have us on that really skinny sidewalk, and then you go through the dirt to get through the other side to the trail. So it's difficult, but that's the reason I love doing local races, because it opens up the door for the next generation and the people that want to compete years ahead or anything like that. So it kind of like we're making the way for the people coming up behind us and all that, and making it better for adaptive athletes everywhere, because a lot of the races don't think that we would be competing or that we'll be there, and they don't take into consideration the changes and adaptations that they need to make for the races. So all the grueling stuff that we have to push through is worth it, and sometimes it is very frustrating, but I don't know, it's worth it at the end. But it is frustrating in the middle of a race when you're stuck in the sand and you have nobody to help you and and stuff. There's some races that do allow us to have like support on the race. Like a friend will join me on the bike just in case I need to get around something, or if something happens, because I've been yelled at by moto safety on races because I was in the middle of a road on the bike course trying to avoid potholes. I think it was in San Diego, and they didn't realize, because the back of my bike is wide because I'm double with 3 wheels. So he didn't realize how we need to get around on the course. So it kind of opens up their eyes on what they need to do in the following years and stuff. But
does CF help with that? I take it. I mean, I think they're trying to make sure they get a hold of these sort of local races sooner and kind of be more sort of prep ahead of time, rather than like, it sounds like what most of it is it's an oh shit afterthought, right? Like, oh, okay, well, we had the course already laid out. We have 3 permits from 3 different counties, and sorry. I'm getting a sense that's what it's like.
Yeah, and it's not even just on the course, it's the parking, because we have all of our equipment that we have to transition, and we can't park like streets and blocks down and travel with all this equipment, because I have my hand cycle, I have my bag of equipment, I have my race chair, I have my own my regular everyday wheelchair. So it's a lot of equipment that we have to travel with. So we have to have parking that's close to transition, and also porta potties that are accessible, and the podium, like Malibu is not, but it's all different things that add up. And a lot of the races are starting to get more in tune and considering, I don't know, they're a lot more helpful now, but years ago it was tough.
Yeah, I can imagine, as they're getting through everything. It's just eye-opening. I mean, it's just, you have to go through it to understand. Like, if I didn't see you with the challenges of trying to get through with the chair, like, it wouldn't have popped right in my head. I mean, for people who don't know Malibu, the run starts off on a sidewalk, and they have runners going down one side and coming back the other side. So nice. when you're in the chair, you take up the whole lane. Like, and now people are trying to run around. So you're on there with able-bodied people as well. You're on there with everybody else. It's crowded on a good day. Right. Oh, it's crowded anyway. I've run around people. I've had to, kind of elbow your way through crowds and stuff. So when you're doing it, when you're in the chair, I can't. Yeah. It's super challenging.
What makes it even more difficult is some of those runners, which is illegal technically in racing rules and all that. They have headphones in. So I'm stuck trying to tell them, hey, behind you, I'm coming up fast. And they don't hear you and don't get out of your way. And those chairs are not easy to stop. They only have one brake on the front wheel, but that's really just to hold yourself in position. It's not to stop you or anything. So it's not easy.
Because it's one wheel, right? Yeah. The lock is on one wheel. So if you were to grab that, you would just turn in a circle into the wall or something.
Yeah. So you're supposed to take your grips and kind of hug your wheels and slow down by that. But when you're on a skinny sidewalk, maneuver around people, it's kind of hard.
Oh my God. That's insane. That's insane.
So to go back a little bit, Ryen, when you said when you were younger, you started, you were in able-bodied sports, you were competing along with that. When you knew you needed to make the transition, was that obviously it was a difficult thing. How difficult was it? Or was it because you knew it wasn't, because of your diagnosis, it's not something that like you got in a car wreck and the next day you no longer have function. It was something that you knew was going to be coming.
Yeah.
Was it, I know it's not easy. Was it something that you had to kind of come to terms with? Was it something how was that transition for you?
I think meeting all the other adaptive athletes and the friends that I've met through everything made it a little easier. At first it was kind of like, what's gonna happen or what's the future like and everything. But I kind of eased my way into it. And I think I was so excited to even be at an elite level in sports and be able to do what I was able to do with this new equipment. I think that kind of blocked out all the negativity and the thought of, I don't know, being or feeling less than, I guess, but just having that support of my teams and other adaptive athletes and just seeing everything that people have accomplished in para sports, it's incredible. And I think just having that focus made everything easier.
Yeah. And the passion doesn't go away just because, that's the thing that was kind of interesting in watching your story kind of on YouTube and other things. By the way, I know we're not Bob Babbitt, so I apologize for not having that. Maybe we'll try to find breakfast for you. I don't know. But it's that fire, that competitiveness. I don't care if it's, if you're a hand cycle or anything else, that level of kind of fire and determination that takes a special someone to be able to do that, irrespective of how it gets done.
Yeah. It's a lot, which is why I post so much on social media, because so many people are unaware of para sports and the Paralympics, and they don't understand. Like, they see people with a disability and see them training for the Paralympics and they think it's a lower level than the Olympics. But if you really think about it, we weren't made to do sports at this level. We've had to adapt and overcome so many things and push so much harder to get to this level. And so I post a lot of my training and my workouts and everything that I go through along the way, because I think it's so important for people to see that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, the thing that was kind of frustrating for me is, NBC and the Today Show and all those guys did the hype for the Olympics like you wouldn't believe. During that, they talked about the Paralympics. They talked about, how incredibly important that is. Go through, they're live at at the Olympics. We get to the Paralympics. Yeah, they're showing it on their other network, but at no point on the Today Show when the Paralympics started did they do a medal count. At no point did they highlight anybody that was, this is their 15th gold medal. I can't believe it, that they're the most decorated person. You just didn't see that happen at all on the coverage. We have a TV at our shop, and we were watching the Paralympics the whole time at our shop, and you're just looking at athletes that are just nuts. I mean, just, swimmers that are, they're at various degrees of, they've got, a half a leg on one side, half an arm on the other side, out swimming me like I'm never going to swim that fast in my lifetime, not in my dreams. And it's just not highlighted. So one of the problems, I think, is they did a great job on the Paralympics as far as highlighting during the Olympics. I don't know if it was a feel good thing or if it was, because then why aren't you talking about it when it's live? Why aren't we talking about those medal counts? Maybe I'm just new to this and I'm frustrated. And back to Tom's point, you're kind of used to this, but with any luck, hopefully we'll increase that visibility.
And that's the goal right now with the whole Paralympic movement. It's such a big deal to try and get more coverage. I mean, back in Rio, we didn't have as much coverage as we did for Tokyo, and they're trying to push it more for Paris, but LA is on trying to get to a whole nother level. So they're already pushing the Paralympic Games and the athletes and everything already. And that's not until 2028. So we're trying to make a movement, and I want to be a huge part of that. And that's why I push the Paralympics so much as well, because I think it is important. They put so much coverage on the Olympics and these athletes, and we just got the same amount of money for medals. The Olympics didn't used to get the same amount of money as the Olympians. So we just got that for Tokyo. And I think it's slowly increasing with the amount of coverage and support and it probably is going to take a while, but the more athletes and the more of us that are pushing it and the more people that are catching on to what amazing movement and sport these are, I think it'll start to pick up, but it's very important to get that coverage.
Yeah, I agree. And it's exciting to watch. I mean, the emotion's not, like I said, it's not any different. It's not less. I mean, the amount of hard work you guys put in, I mean, you're putting that in. And how many surgeries? 15 surgeries? I mean,
yeah, I need another. I've been pushing off for a few years right now for the Paralympics.
Is that scheduled? What is the surgery, if you don't mind me asking?
So I had 4 foot surgeries in 2013 or 2014 on my feet. And so one of those surgeries, 2 of my toes didn't form back correctly. So they removed all the knuckles in my toes. They pinned them, and 2 of the toes did not form back correctly. So they have to go back in and fix that situation. So I've been fighting through pain for the last 3-4 years. So when I take a step, it feels like I'm stepping on a nail. So it's painful, but I'm on a quest for the Paralympics. So I've been pushing it off a little bit, and then COVID happened. And so now I have to figure out how and if I can get it scheduled. But
yeah. How many weeks is that a 3 to 4 week sort of downtime on that thing? Or
so it depends. It could be 4 to 6 weeks. So it all depends on healing and everything, but my body heals pretty quickly. So I don't know. Yeah. I've been through enough to just know, but I just hate surgery. So
seriously. Yeah. I can't imagine wanting to, it's like anything to push it off. It'd be like, I don't need to be cut again. That's enough.
Yeah.
That's enough. Oh my God.
So I want to talk about, so you're currently, like you said, you're the time trial, road, and crit world champion, right? National champion. Sorry.
Yeah.
Well, it could be world. We don't.
That's next.
That's next. We're projecting.
Coming.
So of those 3 disciplines, between the time trial, the crit, and road, which one was your favorite, and which one were you most surprised of, or you kind of knew you were going to kill it on all 3 of them?
Well, going into this season, I was pretty pumped. being off a whole season in 2020 and not having any races at all and training in my garage constantly, I was happy to get back out there and race. And so I was pretty pumped. And I know I trained my butt off in 2020. So I was ready and excited. So my favorite was the Criterium. And the reason the Criterium is my favorite is because for cycling, the courses are so long and out and the roads are not full of people there and cheering you on, except for the crit. The crit is just a circle and people are constantly there yelling and cheering and it's exciting. So I just love the crit, and it's a little crazy because you have all these hand cycles on one street and you're taking these turns and it just gets intense sometimes.
Yeah.
So,
it's like NASCAR basically.
Yeah.
So for those that don't know, so the time trial is you go as fast as you can, you vomit, and then you keep going faster. The road is what you expect. It's a 50 plus probably, or I don't know how long the road course was for you guys on this one.
For our road course, it's usually, I think this year was 29 miles.
Yeah, and it's over sort of for lack of a better term, it's sort of a point to point. Crits are basically mile and a half circle, right? It's basically NASCAR. You're bumping, you're trying to go around corners. My last surgery was because of a crit, as a matter of fact. So my reconstructed collarbone was because of a crit. We won't talk about that. Which is why now I'm a triathlete. So of the three, was it the crit then that you were just pumped for because of that sort of bumping and kind of getting into the mix?
Yeah, crit's my favorite. It's intense and exciting and I love it. And then time trial would be my next favorite because it's just all out straight to from the start to the end. You're just pushing as hard as you can. And you don't really have that stress of any other riders coming up behind you like that. So I love the time trial. And the road race, I get a little anxious and nervous on the road race because it's just a pack of a bunch of riders. And with the paracycling, they start all the classifications together in hand cycling. So you're out there with the guys and the women.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah. At least
does that change sort of mentality on that, or?
Kind of. It depends on the classifications. Usually, the strong guys fly out of the beginning and they're gone. But it's a little intense.
At least with the crit, at least this same turn is coming up each time. So you've got a pack, but you can position yourself because you know what the next turn is. You know what the next turn is. It's the same number of turns back and forth. With the road race, it's a little different.
Yeah.
So
in the road race, you have hills and downhills and turns, holes in the road.
Yeah.
So when I talk to other elite athletes, what I find kind of fascinating, because I'm sort of middle of the pack guy. So with elite athletes, what's interesting is when you get to the line, they can look over kind of left and right and see who those one or two people like. I was talking to someone that's top tier mid distance runner, and they already know when two other people show up to the line, it's either going to be first or second, or it's going to be third. Do you have that same sort of? Do you have those competitors out there that when they come to the line, it's going to be a race, or how is that kind of similar?
Yeah, we sort of know who we're going to hook onto and draft off of, and who to stay away from, and who. It's sort of the.
Where do you fit on that? Are they the oh shit, Ryan's here, so are you that one?
I'm getting there, but
nice.
Like, great, Ryan showed up. Awesome. That's great.
Great.
That's awesome.
And we're all fighting for second place.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, well.
They'll whisper, who invited her? I thought she was going to skip this one.
They're all just going to draft Ryan all the way to the end.
I'll face the whole course.
There you go.
Yeah. There you go. Very cool. So Challenge Athletes Foundation, tell us about the Challenge Athletes a little bit. I mean, because they're helping promote this. They've done a lot. I mean, that's Bob Babbitt and a whole host of other people.
Yeah, so they're my team out of San Diego, California, and they're an incredible team. They help support adaptive athletes all over the world with the expenses of all of our equipment. They help provide grants to help cover those costs of the equipment, the cost of racing or races, the cost of coaches, and everything. If there's a way they can help, they make it happen. And it's an incredible foundation. And I would not be where I'm at today without their help and support, and the staff with Challenge Athlete Foundation. They're just incredible. And they're like a second family to me. They're amazing.
Cool. I mean, they're and I'm trying to remember some of the details about it because I've followed them a little bit. There's a lot, and we'll put some stuff in the show notes and everything for how to donate to Challenge Athletes Foundation for sure, because that's something that I think we can always promote and help push that along, and they work across multiple sports. I mean, I know they were based in triathlon and originally because of Bob Abbott, but they've gone on to do multiple sports now.
Yeah, so they actually do pretty much everything. Any sport they can be a part of, they're a part of. They do triathlon, cycling, track and field. I think they just started beach volleyball.
Nice.
I think they're starting wheelchair football. Everything. I mean, any adaptive sport, they're a part of.
Great.
And is it cf.org in order to get a hold of somebody? How would they?
Yeah,
you can both donate, and if you're a challenge athlete looking for a way for help, they can go to that site.
caf.org. I have to double check that, but
yeah, we'll put it on there.
Yeah,
I'm actually doing their CAF $1 million challenge next month, which is what I'm for now, which is a 640-mile bike ride from San Francisco to San Diego.
Nice.
7 days.
7 days. And how do we track that? How do we track you on that?
I don't know if I'll be posting everything on social media. Okay. So do it that way. But I'm raising money. I'm trying to raise $5,000 to in support of the ride. And then I don't know if they'll have tracking or anything online, but I will definitely be posting each day and updating everybody how I'm feeling and what's going on and everything that could happen.
Good.
Well, it's north to south, so it's all downhill, really.
Yeah.
Just coast.
I'll be posting all of
There's no hills in California. Come on.
It's all downhill. It's along the coast.
It's all downhill. Right? It's just a coast, really. You just sort of
no altitude,
no wind.
It's sea level.
Yeah. What exactly?
So, what kind of training have you been doing to get to that? Have you adjusted any of training to tackle the extra endurance, the longer distance?
Yeah, so I'm actually been doing longer rides instead of, I still have some interval rides every week, but I'm doing more longer endurance rides. So tomorrow I have a 4-hour ride on the trainer, and then Friday I have 5 or 5.5 hours. So,
okay. So because you're
a long time sitting on a trainer.
Yes. Geez. So your racing season is basically over for the cycling side of things, right? You finished up. What were the races that you ended up doing? Because I saw you through the US on a couple different spots.
Yeah, so we started off with the ParaCycling Open in Alabama. I did that. I took first in both the time trial and the road race. And then from there, I went to my second World Cup, which was in Belgium, which was a whole other experience, especially in the middle of COVID. It was a little crazy. And the US had to quarantine for 2 weeks before our actual race. So we were out there for a while. And a lot of Belgium was closed off because of COVID and everything going on. So it was an experience. Probably the hardest road race I ever done because it rained during our whole race.
Oh, geez. Belgian rain is not fun.
No, it was right on the coast. So it was freezing and it was windy, and I was miserable. It was rough. But Yeah, I pushed through that, and I figured if I could push through this, I could push through any race. So that was a rough race. But then I came back and I did, what was the next race? I think it was, I did the Tour of America's Dairylands in Wisconsin. I took first place overall in that. That was an amazing race. Those are very fun races.
Mm-hmm.
And then I did the national championships in Boise, Idaho.
Nice.
Sweet.
Yeah. So it was an exciting time, full of everything.
Yeah, I'm sure. And then you adjust your training for the long ride. What additional strength training? Anything? Do you pick it back up again after the race season?
Yeah. So I'm still doing training in the gym. I go about 2 to 3 times a week on my recovery or lighter days on the bike. And then the longer days on the bike, I'm just focused on the bike because 4 or 5 hours on the bike is enough.
Yeah,
so is there a particular movie you watch during that time? Do you listen to like angry music for the 4 or 5 hours? How?
What's your motivation?
I want to know, because an hour and a half on a trainer and I just want to hurt somebody. So, I mean,
so I usually stick to Netflix and try to find a show, try to get glued into a show on there. And I don't know. It's been all over the place. I don't know what I've been watching lately.
Try Hallmark Channel. I hear they've got really good movies.
That's too. I don't want to get emotional on my bike.
I want to be crying.
Then you get back to him. You're like, all right, there we go. Okay, Ryan, get off the bike now.
And it's the same movie over and over again, so it's just a different cast.
There's a whole level of mentality on people that can do 4 or 5 hour training rides.
Yeah, you don't realize how many movies you can get through in 4 to 5 hours.
Yeah. It's insane.
It's tiring outside. I can't imagine it indoors on it.
Thinking as much time as I'm spending on the trainer, it'll make the ride that much more enjoyable, just being along the coast and riding with other people outside. Yeah. So I'm looking forward to that, but yeah.
So talk a little about that. I mean, for the people watching, this is some of the folks, like we've had previous guests that ran like 300 miles across Tennessee on purpose. When you translate it back to sort of people that are trying to get into training, or people that have to kind of go through that long haul, is that what you keep in mind? Is the idea that, hey, I'm going to be outside in beautiful weather, this is going to be worth that? How do you keep yourself motivated and maintain? And what would be some advice? And do you have 2 or 3 kind of nuggets you would give people when you're going through sort of, trying to get to this goal?
Yeah, well, what motivates me the most is the strength that I endure and push through and gain after long rides like that, and just knowing how I feel the next day and feeling stronger and thinking to myself, the training in the future and the next day will be that much easier if I push through this. Or like the last hour or 2 on the bike, it's exhausting and you just want to get off of it. So I sort of think about that, and then I think about why I'm doing the ride and what I'm doing it for, and the kids and the people that get these grants through Challenge Athletes Foundation, and the reason we're raising the money and just building that foundation for the next group and the next people that come behind me or with me or anything like that. And just thinking of everything I've been through in the past growing up, and just the thought of if I had a mentor like I do now, and what I have now, if I had that in the past, and just providing that for kids or people going through what I went through in the past, and just being able to be that for someone else is incredible. And just proving to people that you can do anything you put your mind to, and what you go out to do, you can see at it. So that's. Do
you feel like sometimes it's a pretty heavy load? I mean, because Challenge Athletes, because you are paving the way. I mean, you're sort of the front end of that spear. I know there's probably people that were in front of you that were trying to do that, but to your point, you've trying to get triathlons to do a better job at race schedule. Does it feel a little overwhelming at times? Not to get all heavy, but
sometimes, yeah, when I have bad training days or races, like when I had my bad race in Belgium, I was very, very upset and stressed, and that was rough. And it was hard for the rest of my season, but I kind of just talked myself back into it and kept going. And I'm glad I kept going because I did great at nationals and just kept pushing through. So I'm glad I didn't give up, and just the thought of that, and it'll help me get through more tough times or tough races in the future and stuff. But yeah, it does get a little much at times, especially with all the weight, I guess, like when you pull up to a start line and you're sitting there thinking before they blow the whistle and all the adrenaline kicks in, like you're thinking about everything at a start line. And so the thought of that and stuff, it's a lot, but then the adrenaline kicks in and it's all good.
Yeah. I mean, once the mechanics starts, you get started, right? I mean, at the end of the day, you're still racing, right? So it's sort of like the turnover's got to occur at some point in time. I think with also part of the reason why I ask is I think there's obviously there was a sharp rise in sort of mental health now when it comes to athletes, especially because of what Simone and others were doing about trying to make sure that there's a balance for people, that it's not just, people. And I know I've saw like some of your quotes before where people thought they would be funny and say, oh, it must be relaxing to be on, to be lying down like that. And that can start to weigh kind of heavy. Do you feel like you're starting to, or do you see that the athletic community starting to be a little bit more recognizing of that kind of mental health?
Yeah. Especially right now, like my coach and our team had a talk, and it was very eye-opening because he reminded us, like, sports, you can't let the stress get in the way of your life. And if it's too much, just take a step back and don't put all this weight on your shoulders, and that's not your job. And he talked us through all that, and it was eye-opening and stuff. But at the same time, we still want to be that inspiration and help others and stuff. So I think we just have to find a balance, but it is helpful, especially with these higher elite athletes like Simone and the other Olympians and stuff. It helps to open up others' eyes and not be hard on everybody else. But
sure. And for people that are watching Paralympics, so what do you want them to know about sort of what you're trying to accomplish? Or is it, look, just view us exactly the same way that you would view any other athlete, that we're going through the same trials and tribulations, we're going through the same, would that be the biggest message you'd want those folks to know about?
Yeah, basically, it's kind of funny because I'll go to the grocery store, like in my wheelchair with my partner, and we'll be getting groceries and stuff. And we've had people come up to us telling us we're inspiring. And I had someone in college tell me I'm inspiring for coming to class. And it's like, that's not inspiring. What's inspiring is us doing these workouts and training for these events that we were not born to do, and that people don't think we're capable of doing and succeeding at these. That's inspiring. Doing regular things like getting groceries and going to college, that is not inspiring. But yeah, just like we're capable of so much more than people see us in regular day life. So just, I don't know, be more open to what we're capable of, and that we can kick butt.
That's good. That's absolutely good.
Well, you did an obstacle course race this summer as well, didn't you?
Of course. Just, on top of everything else, what the hell, right?
You want to talk about inspiring and talk about that. Tell us about that, how that came about, because I remember seeing some of your posts on Instagram about that. It looked impressive.
Yeah. So I did my first 2 Spartan races. So my partner does Spartan races with a group called More Heart Than Scars. And so they basically help get us through the course. I don't know if you've ever done an obstacle course race, but the courses are intense.
Yeah.
were long hikes through hills and rough terrain and just insane. So on our own, it would be very, very difficult, if even possible, to get through with our regular everyday wheelchairs. So they help push us through the obstacles, and then we do the courses, and they provide support if we need it on the different courses, like the monkey bars, sandbag, carry, everything. It's absolutely so much fun, but it's difficult. And I kept seeing Spartan races, and I'm like, oh, that's easy. No big deal. I did it, and I'm like, oh my God, this is intense, because you have all these people that are sweating profusely and are wet from the mud pits, and they're climbing on all these obstacles, and those obstacles have no grips. So you're basically pulling with all your strength, trying to hold on and slipping, and it's insane, but it was so much fun, and I can't wait to do another one when I'm not getting ready for a big ride or race.
Yeah.
But yeah,
then it is cross training, because it inspired me. I've never wanted to do an obstacle race because I don't feel like I'm fit enough or strong enough to do that. So totally inspired.
Fun.
Yeah, I'm still not fit enough or strong enough to do that. So
You can get there.
Triathlons are bad enough. I don't need anything else on my plate right now. That's what's kind of crazy, right? Because you're doing this. You thought, what the hell? I'll throw in a Spartan race. Like, I'm just, I'm getting ready for an Ironman, and I'm like just trying to figure out how to get that done without, blowing up my life. And I think I'll do a Spartan, because what the hell,
yeah.
right? So.
Yeah, you don't realize, or a lot of people don't realize, how much training and preparation we have to put in for these races. So the little bit of time that I get to kind of do anything, kind of take advantage of. But I also just started training in wheelchair tennis, just because my partner's friend in the area out here in Virginia, he started doing wheelchair tennis at Virginia Tech. So we were like, oh, let's go try it. And then we fell in love with it. And now I love it. And I'm like, maybe I have another sport for the Paralympics.
Once you get your gold and cycling, then you go back and get the tennis side of it. Why not? They go for it.
Yeah.
That's awesome. What other sports then? What else? Tennis? What else did you throw in here this year?
This year, I think that was it this year. I don't know.
That's a pretty full year. I mean, that's a lot.
Yeah, that's all I've tried. But I've tried wheelchair basketball. I've tried sled hockey. I've tried snowboarding. I love it all. If I could do every sport and not get in trouble by my coach, I would do it.
You totally embrace the active lifestyle on every level. And then next year. So what's the plan for next year? I mean, we've got 3 years for the Olympics coming up, right? So that's obviously the goal.
So next year, we just had a meeting with my coach. So we're kind of getting focused, getting back into races. It's kind of like the prep for the bigger years. So what next year is 2022. Yeah. So then 2023 is like the big year before all the big races are like really important to get to the level of 2024, which is the trials year and everything. So it kind of like eases our way back into it, but kind of a little quicker because we only have 3 years this year. So yeah, so I'll have a little break, like a week after this big 640-mile ride, and then it's back into training for the winter, and then kick everything off for next year and full force 2023, and then hopefully make the team in 2024.
I like how you said that. You get 1 week off, and then 3 years of, and then it's back. 3 years. Then I'll get a week off in 2026, and then well, and then that week you'll probably do like a Spartan race, and
gotta do something.
Exactly.
Yeah, but that's a lot of people just think the Olympics and Paralympics come up, and that's the only race I'm worried about. But there's so much into it before that. We have so many training events and camps and races that we have to even get to be able to race and succeed at that level. So yeah, not much break, and
Well, enjoy that week.
Yeah. Oh, I will. I'll be in California with my family. So
there you go.
Yeah.
Super, super awesome. So what's your social media channels? What we'll put them up on cars as well, but tell us how do we follow you on everything?
So on Instagram, it's Ryen_equality or bust, but it's Ryen.
Yes. Very, very specific. Ryen. Yeah. Ryen.
Yeah. And I have an athlete page on Facebook. It's Ryen Reed, RyenReed. And then I think I have a Twitter, but I don't really use it. And I think I have a YouTube, but I don't really use it. But
all right. So for that week, you're going to hire a social person for you.
Instagram.
I really need to. I haven't posted anything since last week. So.
Oh my goodness. Instagram is usually where I follow you on it. That's
post everything, especially on my story. So I'll be posting a lot on there for the ride and updates and stuff on there.
Okay. And then we'll also get the challenged athletes information up. We'll make sure that's in the notes. This will go out on audio first, and then we'll do the YouTube channel is almost finished. We've got some episodes up on our YouTube channel. And I'll have the rest of these up hopefully soon. It takes a little time.
Yeah. I know. And then I have a fundraising page for that ride too.
Yeah. What's the page?
But I think it's under a support page for Challenge Athlete Foundation. And then I think it's my name and a number that I can send it to you. I
send it to me so we can put it on the show notes, and we'll include it in the show as well. This is great. I'm super, super excited you were able to join us. It's great to catch up with you and hear your story and go through all of this. It is inspiring.
Yeah.
I love following you on Instagram. So
on Facebook, my memory just popped up from 2 years ago or 3?
2019, right? Malibu.
Yeah. What is that? What year are we in? 2020.
It's 21, right? So that was 2 years ago.
Yeah, it popped up that we just did the Malibu triathlon. And actually, right after I left that triathlon, I went into LA to record a music video for BB Rexa for Angelina Disney movie Maleficent. So right after that race, I was doing a music video until they had us filming until like 3 a.m.
Oh, geez.
That was a very long day.
Oh my God. That's insane.
You're like, I'd rather be back on the course. Can I just go back on the course?
It's so Hollywood though, you just go out and knock off a race and then go,
like how she
shoot a video.
Oh, you guys don't have a video with BB Rexa? Am I the only one? Was that just me?
That's my typical day. That's
why I had to leave.
Flex. That's why I had to leave LA.
Good flex.
It's a good flex.
And I was like, well, I have a race that morning. And they were like, well, just come right after. I was like, okay.
People were skipping that race because the Emmys were that night and they didn't want to stress themselves before they sat on their asses and patted themselves on the back. You go do the race anyway so you can work the rest of the day.
That's hilarious.
That's awesome. I love it. Cool. Well, thank you again for joining us. It's been awesome. We're going to have you back on again.
Yeah. I got a thing with Tim McGraw I got to get to. So,
yeah.
We're going to have to bounce right now. So
I'm going to have to take care of my dogs who just woke up and are now getting super excited. So, cool. Great talking with you. Thank you again so much. I want to thank everybody for listening. Give us lots of feedback and comments, thumbs up, 5 stars. I like to promote that. I think we do a pretty decent job. We certainly are having fun doing this, and it helps the algorithms and helps more people find us. So we've been enjoying our podcast. Hope everyone has. So thank you again, and we'll see you next time.